श्रील प्रभुपाद की। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। जय महाप्रसाद की। अभी आशीर्वाद मिल गया, अभी हम कुछ पढ़ सकते हैं। तो हर एकादशी पे so we are going to discuss in English because Hemagiri Prabhuji desired and requested that it should be in English. So although some devotees, कई भक्तों ने ऐसे निवेदन किया था कि प्रभु जी आप हिंदी बोल सकते तो हिंदी बोलना, लेकिन प्रभु जी का हेमगिरी प्रभु जी ने अधिकार दिया है ये सेवा करने का, तो फिर उनकी इच्छा है, उनकी आज्ञा है कि प्रभुपाद जी की इच्छा है कि अंग्रेजी में बोले, तो हम अंग्रेजी बोलेंगे। अगर जो भक्तों को अंग्रेजी समझने में थोड़ा कठिनाई होता है या कम समझ पाते हैं, तो पीछे भक्त बैठे हैं, श्रीमान सच्चिपुत्र गौर प्रभु, वो हिंदी में उसका अनुवाद कर रहे हैं। तो जो भी भक्तों को अंग्रेजी में समझने में थोड़ा सा कम समझते हैं, तो वो पीछे सच्चिपुत्र गौर प्रभु जी के संग में बैठ सकते हैं, वो हिंदी में अनुवाद करके आपको साथ साथ में बताएंगे, ठीक है। सो दिस इज ऑल्सो श्रीमद् भागवतम, बिकॉज श्रीमद् भागवतम इज बोथ बुक भागवतम एंड person Bhagavatam. So this is about person Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada's mercy. So can you give me one Bhagavatam? 4.22. Bhagavatam. 4.22. So every Ekadashi we are reading from this wonderful book. I'll build you a temple, a beautiful temple, the Juhu story by His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj, who is one of the wonderful legendary disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So a few years ago, Maharaj has written this book about the struggle of ISKCON Juhu establishing, right? So every Ekadashi we are reading from this book. So Maharaj, in today what we are going to read, Maharaj is helping us understand that how Srila Prabhupada was very much keen. Am I audible clearly and distinctly? Okay, fine. So Maharaj is helping us understand that how Srila Prabhupada, 4.22, na? Thank you. So there is one very beautiful shloka in which glorifies Bhakta Bhagavat in the book Bhagavat. So Bhakta Bhagavat glorifies book Bhagavat and book Bhagavat glorifies Bhakta Bhagavat. So very beautiful shloka is there. I am not by heart, I have not done it by now, so please forgive me. I will read from Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavatam. Oh, no, this is 4.29 again. 4.29 again. Vinod Patram. This what shloka? Oh, I lost it. It's 4.22.37 or 47? Maybe 47. Vinod Patram. 47, sorry. So this is very beautiful shloka in Srimad Bhagavatam. Yairidrishi 4.22.37, 47. यैरीदृशी भगवतो गतिरात्मवाद एकांततो निगमिभि प्रतिपादितान तुष्यन्तदब्र करुणा स्वकृतेन नित्यं को नाम तत्प्रतिकरोति विनोद पात्रम. So Prithu Maharaj is telling very beautifully, how can such persons who have rendered unlimited service, Srila Prabhupada, how can such persons who have rendered unlimited service by explaining the path of self-realization in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and whose explanations are given for our enlightenment with complete conviction and Vedic evidence be repaid except by folded palms containing water for their satisfaction. So such devotees like Srila Prabhupada, who are explaining the path of self-realization so wonderfully for our enlightenment, for our understanding, and with conviction, with realization. Such people can never be, we can never pay our debt to them. Such great personalities can be satisfied only by their own activities, which are distributed amongst human society out of their unlimited mercy. So Nityananda Triyodashi is coming, and Nityananda Prabhu is Balaram, is Lakshmanan. So when Nityananda Prabhu comes as Balaram, so then he prays to the Lord that, "O Lord, in my previous service to you as Lakshman, I was younger brother to you. So willingly, unwillingly, I had to, see you going through so many austerities, and I could not offer you service because, I was younger, and whatever you order, I have to allow you to perform all the austerities. But now, enough is enough. In this service as Balaram, when I'm, manifesting, so I want to be elder brother, so that I can serve you to my heart's satisfaction, as I wish, because I will be elder brother, right?" And then Nityananda Prabhu also, as elder brother, he appeared so that he can serve to his heart's content. Who? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is the attitude of Adi Guru. But there is one serial, if I am not wrong, this Mahabharata Shri Krishna serial used to come on television 20 years ago. So in that, what they had shown is that Balaramji comes and tells Krishna that in the last time, when I came as Lakshman, I was too much bothered, so much service. Now I want to be elder brother and I want to chill out. So when we see these kind of serials, although it is nice, something devotional, but we have to be very careful because, tacitly you may pick up some very, very non-devotional or incorrect, inappropriate, totally wrong attitudes, which are never taught by, Nityananda Prabhu or Balaramji. But this is not the case with Srila Prabhupada, who, from the Vedic evidence, they preach from the Vedic evidence with conviction and realization. Such persons, their debt we can never repay in our life. What we can do? We can just remember their glorious activities, and we can try to glorify their activities by reading this book. And also what we can do is, we can try to please them by assisting them in their service to Guru and Gauranga. So we will read from page 63, chapter Arriving on the Scene, a Good Fight. So Srila Prabhupada Maharaj is helping us understand that how Srila Prabhupada valued the deities of Sri Sri Radha Ras Bihariji, which we are having darshan here, and how he taught the deities are non-different from Krishna. They are Krishna. Commenting on this verse, Srila Prabhupada states, "Those who are actually very serious about devotional service do not differentiate between the form of the Lord made of clay, metal, stone, or wood, and the original form of the Lord." So in between I will ask questions also, so that we keep deriving the benefit of the reading, and it just doesn't remain, just monotonous reading, right? The statue of Lord Krishna and Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are non-different, because the Lord is absolute. Even if one has not developed this consciousness, one should accept it theoretically from the instructions of the spiritual master, and should worship the Archa Murti, or the form of the Lord in the temple, as non-different from the Lord. And thus he kindly trained us in the course of and as part of his service to the deities. To accommodate the deities without the large hired pandal Nar Narayan and his wife Deena Dayadri constructed a small and simple yet festival pandal-like structure. He went to Bhuleshwar and bought bolts of red and yellow cloth, and she sewed it with her special sewing machine from America. He had observed that when Indians built a pandal, they dug holes, put in bamboo poles, and repacked the dirt around them. Then they built a framework, and over that they laid the covering of interlocking pieces laced together. One could make a pandal with just a single piece, or it could be hundreds of yards long. The bamboo was usually covered with striped cloth sleeves, but we didn't have a way to make them, so our bamboo was just bare. With help from a couple of devotees, Nar Narayan dropped in the poles, packed in the dirt, and put it all together with his own hands. We had almost no money, so there was no hired labor. The devotees built the whole thing themselves, and on a wood plank platform were the deities. To protect the deities and their paraphernalia, a devotee stood guard all night. But one night in April, the devotee on duty fell asleep, and some thieves slipped under the canvas and stole the deity's crowns and flute. There was no door, the pandal was really just a tent. So the robbers had just walked in, stepped over the sleeping brahmachari, taken the flute and crowns and left. When Prabhupada heard about the incident, he wrote me. So now we will see what Srila Prabhupada write and how an ideal disciple, he takes it. A disciple who is going to become later His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. Right? So let us be very careful now. Srila Prabhupada is writing now letter to whom? His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. I have got some reports that the deities in Bombay are being much neglected. This is most abominable affair. Radha and Krishna should not ever be neglected or left unprotected. So I am wondering what you have done to rectify this situation. I have heard that Madhudisa intervened to get the deities a better place. So he has done nicely. So this is Srila Prabhupada's letter. Now Maharaj is writing. My mind was reeling. I was shaken to the core that Prabhupada had criticized me so severely, saying that the deities were neglected and calling the situation abominable. Still, I tried to maintain my spirit and formulate a proper reply. You are so merciful. Now Maharaj is replying to Srila Prabhupada. You are so merciful to take the time to chastise this useless soul. I wrote, my sluggishness and thoughtlessness are very shameful. And worst of all, before receiving your letter, I was so unconscious of them. But your absolute mercy is such that your chastisement is as good as your blessings. So I pray that my determination and enthusiasm shall not be shaken in trying to follow your instructions. So what a wonderful reply by Maharaj. Nahi? Sometimes we may hear very heavy correction. And that too when it comes from somebody whom you love the most. Like, spiritual master. Like Maharaj loved Srila Prabhupada. So then you feel literally shattered. Right? So, but how Maharaj is, controlling himself and then still seeing it as mercy of the Lord. Tatte nukampam susamikshamaano bhunjana evatmakritam vipaka. In all situations of life, seeing it as a mercy of the Lord. This is the sign of a devotee. This is the sign of a devotee. Not that a devotee means he is protected by God, so he will have all success, all health, all victory, all wealth, all fame, all YouTube following. No. The sign of a devotee is that in all situations he will be able to view it as mercy of Guru and Gauranga. And Maharaj is teaching that. Right? And he is also praying to Srila Prabhupada that you please bless me that I may not be shaken in this situation, but you have blessed me. As far as the deities are concerned, from what I heard from Madhu Dvisa Maharaj, at the time of shifting the deities, the finishing touches on Nar Narayan's pandal had not been completed. Plus the pandal throne itself was not very pakka. But now, highly decorative cloth has been put on the sides of the deity's house, and for their protection we have had all day watch by devotees and 3 men sleeping around the deities at night. Soon the new structure should be up, and until then we shall have all night awake watch for the deities. Beginning tonight, the deity room in the Khandelwal structure will be pakka, brick and sheets, with locking door. Right now there is a problem. There is problem of dust dirtying the deity house because the sides are open to wind. But the pujaris are very devoted, and in addition to big sewing work, I have given a list of prospective donors for deity things to one of our ladies. The Khandelwal structure was to be constructed with Khandelwal steel tubes, manufactured by a dear friend and supporter, the pious and prominent industrialist Biharilal Khandelwal. Prabhupada replied later that month, I am glad to see that all of the programs are going on nicely, especially that the deities are being cared for again properly. Now you give our ladies full facilities and help them by giving them money and other things wherever required by them, so that our deity program will not be lacking. So this is very important. I read one letter of Srila Prabhupada a few months ago, in which Srila Prabhupada was thanking the devotee in the West. And I thank you very much that although your temple collection has increased to double monthly collection of your temple, Lakshmi, fund collection, Lakshmi collection, but I am very pleased to see that your own expenditure has not increased. So I am happy to see that you are still able to live simply. Thank you very much. And then Srila Prabhupada writes further, but I am having a question about one thing, another thing. I see that in your expenditure report, deities were taken care for nicely by spending $900 per month. If the collection has increased, why this expenditure has not increased on deities? So then Srila Prabhupada said that we can live all simple, but for deities we should have always, better and better service offered to the Lord. Right? So why you should keep 900? Why not double it? Something like that Srila Prabhupada had in the letter to that devotee. Jai Shri Shri Radha Ras Bihari Gaur Nitai Sita Ram Lakshmana Hanuman Giriraj Govardhan Shri Radha Ras Bihari Shila Shri Shri Sudarshan Shri Shri Narayan Shri Narsimha Swami Shri Dwarkadhish Shila ki Jai, Shri Shada Goswami ki Jai, Shri Guru Shri Parampara ki Jai, Shri Vrinda Devi ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. We have 5 different Shilas, right? So this is Srila Prabhupada's heart, that the deities should be offered high class service. And in particular, to begin with, Srila Prabhupada always desired that 2 things for deities worship or deities service, 2 things, the most important. First is, who knows these 2 things by chance? Anybody knows these 2 things? Let's hear from Anantarup Gaur Prabhu. Hey, you should have told one. Why you told both? Yeah, Srila Prabhupada always wanted punctuality and cleanliness. These two things were like the bare minimum when it comes to serving the deities. Right? Yeah. So here we learned a wonderful principle that how a pure devotee loves Krishna in his Archa Murti also, Archa form also. Prabhupada replied later that month, I am glad to see that all of the programs are going on nicely, especially that the deities are being cared for again properly. Now you give our ladies full facilities and help them by giving them money and other things wherever required by them, so that our deity program will not be lacking. I wrote back, the deity program is expanding and nearly every day a new item appears on the altar. The deity's lotus has returned, dipped in silver, and the girls have arranged to purchase marble for the altar. Madri Dasi and others have already got 3 nice donations for their lordships. When the deities are moved into their new home, we will feel very relieved and encouraged. And a week later I added, I think when Radha and Krishna move into their new house, nobody will be able to resist them. Along with the external arrangements, we were also working on our consciousness. We are eagerly awaiting the completion of their new home, I wrote, and meanwhile are trying to instill in the devotees more awareness of the deities, meaning Radha and Krishna, the object of all of our service and love, themselves in fact. So this is another responsibility of a ideal sadhaka, ideal disciple, ideal temple devotee, that while catering to the expectations of Acharya or Srila Prabhupada or his followers, always constantly making swacheshtitam, making some endeavors to raise our consciousness, to understand their feelings and love for Srila Prabhupada, for Krishna, for service of the Lord, for preaching, for cleanliness standards, all those things like that, rather than complaining or or arguing. No. Rather, we should try to raise our standards of understanding to become more pleasing to superiors, Srila Prabhupada and the Lord. Worshipping the deities in the pandal was difficult. Narayani remembered, sometimes I would help with the deity worship, and it was very austere because the deities were in a tent in an open field and there were big huge winds. I would try to do the arati and the ghee wicks were always blowing out. It was hard to get through offering the lamp to all the deities without having to light the ghee wicks at least 5 or 6 times. Sometimes the whole pandal swayed in the wind. Once when Harikesh was alone watching the deities, a strong gust blew the curtains into the ghee lamp, and the curtains, which were synthetic and highly flammable, caught fire. But it just so happened that Harikesh had been a New York fireman for 5 years. And he jumped up and ripped down the burning curtains and threw them on the ground. Amazing. Just right person at the right time. For the monsoon season, we moved the deities into a room we made for them in the hut, with curtains opening into a small indoor pandal that served as our temple hall. I wrote Srila Prabhupada, we had an ecstatic kirtan procession with the blowing of conch shells and the throwing of flowers and grains, along with rose water for their lordships, to move them into their temporary pandal indoors. So earlier Shri Radha Rasa Bihari was in tent, just kapda, tent. And now Lord is moving from tent to some structure, some tin shed and some concrete structure. Similarly in our ISKCON Delhi temple also, similar history is there. How the Lord first was in a very simple situation, and then to a small structure, and then to the big temple, like that. Or to a pakka place first, I think Panchsheel, if I am not wrong, and then in the big temple, Santanagar, Radha Parthasarathi Mandir. But with the crumbling floor and the rats and mosquitoes and other bugs, serving them in the hut was also challenging and austere. Once when rain came, this is hut, not even structure now, even hut, only hut. Once when rain came through the roof, Harikesh had to hold his raincoat over the deities to protect them. So having a proper semi-permanent place for the deities was most essential. We often hear of devotees performing austerities for the sake of deities. Tamal Krishna said, but on Hare Krishna land the deities performed austerities for the sake of the devotees. And years later, Narayani made the same point. Radha Rasbihari performed more austerities than we did. It was like having the general out there on the battlefield. Krishna himself was there with us to encourage us. He had to suffer the same as we did. That's how you get encouragement. When the leaders stay there with you, doing everything you do, Prabhupada was like that too. Right? Those who know. Always. In January 1977, Srila Prabhupada was living in Bhubaneswar. All of you know that. For 10-15 days. Practically on the land, nothing. No facilities, no proper bathroom, nothing. Fag and the last year of his physical manifest pastimes. In that situation also. Right? So Srila Prabhupada will also do that. Not only last year only, all his life. Always he was with the devotees, going through the same difficulties what they were going through. Srila Prabhupada encouraged me to proceed with the deity program, but he also cautioned me to be careful. If you have crowns dipped in gold for the Bombay deities, he wrote me, you must keep them very carefully. I understand that some time ago one crown was stolen from Krishna's head, despite the presence of one brahmachari who was sleeping there and did not even hear the thief coming. So we must take very great precaution to always protect the deities from all kinds of danger. And a couple of weeks later he added, you should purchase one iron safe and keep the deity's jewelry and any valuables in that. Or an iron closet, a little heavier, and you may keep either in my room or in some special room. So far away Srila Prabhupada is, but there also he is concerned that Radha Rasbihari should not be, improperly served. They should be best served. There also Prabhupada is giving solutions, sitting far away, that take iron locker and this and that, and make sure Krishna is taken care in the form of his deity form. It wasn't for another week until July 14 that I could finally write Prabhupada. The Khandelwal structure is finished and we are soon expecting the permits for the deity house to be built attached to the Khandelwal. Behind the deity room shall be the pujari's room where we shall keep the deity's heavy iron closet, come safe, which we purchased yesterday. Within a month the deity's hair should be ready. At that time we shall move the deities in a big celebration with publicity, celebrities and feasting. While we were struggling in the hut, Prabhupada was envisioning a grand future for deity worship at Hare Krishna land, in which we served Radha and Krishna with sincere and focused attention, thus attracting large numbers of people to their lotus feet. The deity program must be improved very gorgeously, he wrote. Flower garlands should be expanded, and all expenditures for the deities must be expanded. The same thing which I was, little while ago telling. All expenditures for the deities must be expanded without any miserly contemplation. कुछ कंजूसी मत सोचना deities की सेवा में. दिल खोल के serve the deities. Our temple should be so gorgeously decorated that we shall excel all Bombay temples. This is my idea. Try to fulfill it. When they hear that we decorate our deities so gorgeously, people will throng, especially on festival days like Janmashtami, Jhulan Yatra, etc. So 4 or 5 devotees should be always engaged in deity worship. If we make our deity worship program extremely opulent and gorgeous, he had begun, And if all of the devotees are always attending Arati and holding Kirtan in front of the deities, that will be the best program for attracting the Indian people to Krishna consciousness movement. So if somebody is just dancing and chanting enthusiastically in Arati and Kirtan, Srila Prabhupada is telling that this is the best preaching way, best program for attracting Indian people to Krishna consciousness movement. So simple. So any devotee, any sadhaka who is very sincerely practicing the principles of Krishna consciousness, the 64 limbs of bhakti given by Srila Rupa Goswami, and is sincerely, practically, honestly, genuinely, heartily aligning his life with these 64 limbs of bhakti, he will become so attractive, and he will attract others also to Krishna. He will become a powerful preaching tool. And we know His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj would always appreciate His Grace Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu. Last 16 years, Srila Prabhupada's disciple Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu was distributing very happily, joyfully Charanamrita in Krishna Balram temple, Vrindavan, ISKCON temple. And he was so joyful performing the simple services to Krishna deities. And seeing him, Srila Jayadvaita Maharaj used to derive great inspiration all over the world. Right? Some devotee who is even maybe living in temple but genuinely practicing the temple life, attending all the artis, enthusiastically participating in the kirtans and loudly chanting the kirtans. Always, very, very loudly. Krishnot Kirtana, Gana, and then second is Nartana. Nartana is also important, dancing is also important, but that is second. First is loud, Utkirtana, very loud chanting. The top of our voice chanting. His Grace Surdas Prabhu always says, full throttle, devotees should be singing, full volume kirtans we should be singing at the top of our voice. Nahi? So, you try to give the pujaris all assistance to improve the standard of deity worship and always render Radha and Krishna the most sincere attention. Shortly after the Pandal program on the land and Prabhupada's departure to Australia, a young man came looking for me in the hut. He presented me a typed letter addressed to the president of ISKCON Bombay. I have attended almost all the days of your dazzling display of Aratik ceremonies, pravachans, kirtans and transcendental dramas. It is all attractive and all effective, which has power to cleanse the hearts of the patitam, fallen, and remove all the dust accumulated for years together. Your wonderful movement, Hare Krishna movement, is meant for purification of hearts and leading the inhabitants of this planet towards the fulfillment of the goal of human life, that is, back to their natural home, back to Godhead, back to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I wish to be a pure devotee of Krishna and develop my dormant love for Him. I want to be a Krishna servant, because a valid life is a life of loving service to Krishna and engage 24 hours a day in His devotional service. But in this troubled age of Kali, it is impossible to be a pure devotee by living in the association with worldly, godless people, non-devotees, people who are interested in extracting happiness from matter, which is nothing but impossible. It is simply due to ignorance they are missing the center of seeking pleasure, Krishna. In Bombay, Hare Krishna land is the only place where the predominance of the mode of goodness is very easily felt. Of course, it is natural because in the Hare Krishna land, Krishna, the reservoir of pleasure, personally resides with His most dear servants, the devotees, who are non-different from Himself. And the land is just an external manifestation of Vaikuntha Dham, the kingdom of God. I wish to join you and make my life sublime. I know your 4 things which you abstain from, viz. No eating meat, fish or eggs, no illicit sex, no intoxication including coffee, tea, pan, etc. and no gambling. Nowadays I am chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So I want to know the pre-qualifications and procedure, how you make a new devotee and how he can get admission in your ashram. I expect admission at the earliest moment because, as you know, the moment which is not used in Krishna consciousness is a mere wastage of so valuable lifetime. Excuse me, if while reading such material words, it has created disturbance in your chanting. Thank you, Hare Krishna, yours obediently. Who? Eh? Patil, R.B. R.B. means what? Raghunath Bhagavan Patil. His Holiness Raghunath Swami Maharaj ki. So we can see. Hence proved. If devotees very enthusiastically and joyfully chant and dance in temple in aratis and kirtans and classes and kathas and temple programs and all the festivals we have, right? Gopashtami or Janmashtami or Julan Yatra. What all festivals we have? More? Ram Navami is coming, Janmashtami, Radha Ashtami, Nityanand Triyodishi is coming, Gaur Purnima. And all the festivals, all the parts of the festivals also we should be present. Not that only the Abhishek 20 minutes, 30 minutes only I should be present and then that is festival done. No. Festival day when seniors are arranging temple, pujaris or temple leaders are arranging so many different festivals in the day. So we should try to be present for all the festivals. And then it becomes so attractive. And the result is you get Raghunath Bhagavan Patil. Such a great leader, such a great Vaishnava. Correct? Just by having nice, wonderful temple festivals. Nahin? So now Giriraj Maharaj continues further. I was delighted by what I read, perceiving how genuine, how humble and gentle and submissive the man was. I waved the letter above my head, announced, "Hey, we have got a new bhakta!" and embraced him. The R.B. stood for Raghunath Bhagavan. He had attended our Pandal program at Cross Maidan and our most recent one at Hare Krishna land. His Holiness Raghunath Swami Maharaj ki. In fact, he had taken many of the phrases in his letter from our publicity for the programs. So Maharaj had gone to a proper typist because His Holiness Raghunath Swami Maharaj thought that if I just give a handwritten letter, this is an international organization, people may not take it seriously. They may reject me. They may be getting hundreds of letters every day. So my letter may be rejected. So Maharaj wrote the content, then went to a typist, got it typed properly. So it looks very formal, international organization and applying. So then Maharaj brought the letter, In fact, Bhakta Raghunath took naturally to the lifestyle of the devotees. As he later recalled, I had a new home, a new uniform, new associates, new program. Almost everything was new to me. Nonetheless, I immediately embraced all of it and liked it. Although the devotees were mostly foreigners, I felt completely at home. I was determined to make this my life's commitment. And yes, you can see Maharaj is serving today also Srila Prabhupada with full enthusiasm and energy and spirit. Nahin? So in 2005 there was one youth festival in Pune, National Youth Festival. Some of you were there by chance? Any one of you were there? No. So His Holiness Raghunath Swami Maharaj was present there and he also gave a talk to the youths. Around 2000 youths were there in the festival. So one very nice thing Maharaj was telling. Maharaj told that when my parents so much, pushed me that you come back home, Maharaj banega kya? So then, long history. So then Maharaj forcibly had to go to home for some time. And then those days, radio has just come. So Maharaj told that my family, my parents and all brothers had purchased radio. And this radio, they were so happy and so crazy about it, or say and joyful about it, this radio has come our home. So whole day they will be playing this radio. Whole day. And on the full volume. And they used to be so happy that we have radio and it's playing full volume radio. So then Maharaj said, I used to be so fed up. And whole day this, film songs are playing in that, movie songs, And boys, this hero is singing for the heroine and heroine singing for the hero and all. And there, Maharaj said, I tried to, convince them that it should be stopped for some time. Otherwise, खराब हो जाएगा. But they are not ready to stop. It has to be on whole day. Our new radio we have bought. So then Maharaj thought, what to do now? How will I prepare how will I maintain my consciousness? Whole day this, materialistic, mundane vibrations are going inside the head. So then Maharaj was telling all the youths. Maharaj said, then I changed my outlook. I told myself that whenever that male voice is singing, so that is Krishna singing for Radharani. And whenever that female voice is singing, I used to accept it as, or decipher it as, Radharani singing for Krishna now. Radha Krishna ki. His Holiness Loknath Swami Maharaj ki. So this is back in 72, 50 years ago, when many of our father also were not born maybe. And Maharaj is performing bhakti unto Shri Radha Rasa Bihari from that time. Hai na? When all of us, we were in our last life, previous life, which yoni, we don't know. So Maharaj ki jai. So what we can see is that this is how a sincere devotee can convert any situation into Vaikuntha. And Srila Prabhupada went to USA and Bowery Street, he said, this is Vaikuntha. And these are the followers of Srila Prabhupada who can convert these mundane, filmy, useless songs into Radha Krishna songs. Nee? So bhakti can be performed in any situation. There is no obstacle. Only our training has to be there. Our heart has to be there very desperately. That I want to serve Krishna. I want to be a devotee. And Srila Prabhupada was on Juhu beach one day. And after his morning walk, as prescribed by doctor, daily walk. So Prabhupada was leaving Juhu beach in his car, which is standing in the basement. So just when Prabhupada was about to close the door, one devotee, foreigner devotee, Prabhupada's disciple, he came running to Prabhupada and fell at Prabhupada's feet and asked, Srila Prabhupada, what is the most important thing? What is the most important thing in Krishna consciousness for long time or in long life or whole life bhakti? Prabhupada said, desire. And Prabhupada closed the door and left. So here Maharaj is teaching us, as we discussed, that bhakti cannot be stopped by anything in this material world. Any situation, any person, any problem. If you desire to be a devotee, if you desire to serve Krishna, nothing can stop. Nothing can stop performing bhakti, performance of bhakti, being a devotee. Nothing can stop. It's just lack of our desire when we struggle. Otherwise, impossible. No challenge. It's impossible. You can chant holy names. You can remember Krishna anywhere, anytime. Nahin? Anytime. ATM. Raghunath had been a chemistry student at Kirti College in Dadar, Bombay. अभी भी है क्या ये Kirti College? है? Sometime we should go and offer obeisances there. Just like recently when I went to Calcutta. So we went to Prabhupada's Scottish Churches College. Even today it is there, huge, big college. So we offered obeisances at the entry of that college. I was very sure that it's proper. Although now maybe devotees maybe not be there, but Srila Prabhupada's place. So we offered, and then we went to that school also, Motilal Seal, not Oswal. Motilal Seal, school, free school. So that is also there still today, as it is. So before it gets dilapidated and vanish, all the devotees should make sure that go to those places and offer obeisances. Remember Srila Prabhupada's presence there. Very important. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Kumarhatta and then took the dust of that village because my spiritual master is born here. Right? So Srila Prabhupada, was roaming around those schools and college hundreds of times every whole life. Right? So Kirti College in Dadar, Bombay, rooming with other young men from his village of Aravade in southwest Maharashtra. A year earlier, he had tried to join Vinoba Bhave's ashram. Bach gaye hum. But he had never made it. His family had been aware of his inclination to join a spiritual community. So they had asked the young village men to keep an eye on him. Najar rakhna is pe. During the Pandal program, Raghunath had commuted between Dadar and Juhu, and his roommates hadn't noticed anything different. But eventually, when he hadn't come back after visiting the temple, they had looked for clues, found a handbill with our address, and alerted his family. A week after Raghunath arrived, his older brother, with one of his previous roommates, came looking for him. His brother wanted him to visit the family, especially for the sake of their mother. If Raghunath did not go, he said she might die. So this is parampara mein chal raha hai. 50 years ago also it was there. So one devotee was told that mother will die if you don't visit mother at home. Really? He went home, and when he reached home, he found mother was watching television, cartoon, and eating grapes. He assured Raghunath and us that the family would have no objection to Raghunath's returning after the visit. I was apprehensive. I suspected that Raghunath's family would try to keep him with them, and I wasn't sure how he would respond. Still, seeing Raghunath's sincerity and also his respect for his older brother and concern for his mother, I gave him permission to go for 1 week. Several days passed, then several weeks, and when Raghunath still had not returned, my anxiety peaked. Finally, after a month, he came back, and we were jubilant. Many Indian devotees had come and gone, promising to return, but hardly any had actually come back, as family attachments in India were very strong. When we asked Raghunath what had happened, he explained, after I arrived in my village, people began saying that although I used to be such a nice boy, now something had gone wrong with me. I was wearing dhoti and kurta, chanting Hare Krishna and avoiding the association of non-devotees, which the villagers considered strange and abnormal. My parents tried everything in their power to dissuade me from returning to the devotees. They even went to the astrologers to learn some way to cure me, or to find out how long I would continue living this strange type of life. They were really concerned. More than a week passed, yet no plans had been made for my return to the devotees, as per the original agreement with my brother. My parents kept telling me that some relatives or other still had to come to see me, and that it wouldn't be proper for me to leave without meeting him. My family planned to enlist the relatives to talk me out of becoming a sadhu. My parents tried everything on me, but my mind was fixed on going back to the devotees. So time is up. Maybe we'll continue this next time. Jai. Any thoughts? Any? Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण Prabhuji.
तो लोकनाथ स्वामी के बारे में आज सुंदर सुनने की पड़ा। महाराज को हमें याद है जब पंढरपुर का मंदिर प्रारंभ में हम लोग कृष्ण मुरारी, मैं और भगवान दास, हम तीनों ने देखा, क्योंकि हम लोग कीर्तन करते थे वहाँ पर, और वो कीर्तन करते तो चंद्रभागा के उस पार में करते थे। आप लोग पंढरपुर गए होगे, देखा होगा, तो उस पार में करते थे। तो एक दिन मुरारी को एक लड़का मिला, साधु, उन्होंने कहा कि हमारे एक आश्रम आइए यहाँ पर। तो हम लोग गए वहाँ पर, देखा तो बैठे। जाने के बाद उन्होंने कहा कि हमारा भी कुछ एक कुटिया है, वो बेचने की है। तो हम उनका दिखाओ कैसी कुटिया है। देखा तो एक पत्थर का बना हुआ घर था, अंदर एक रूम, बाहर एक रूम, और एक पड़वी ऐसी बाहर थी। तो उड़िया हमको बेचने का है। तो कहा कि मुरारी ने कहा कि कैसे किया जाए। तो हम लोग संकीर्तन में थे, तो हम लोग तुरंत, फ़ोन तो नहीं था उस समय, ऐसे इतना बोल सकते हैं जल्दी। तो हम लोग जब आए तब हमने कहा कि महाराज को कि ये जो पंढरपुर का जो मंदिर बनाने के लिए बहुत जगह अच्छा है। तब वहाँ पर हम लोगों ने, महाराज ने कहा कि कौन है एक मैनेजर, इसको मिलाओ दो में से। तो महाराज पहली बार हम लोग गए पंढरपुर में, वहाँ पर महाराज को घर देखने के लिए, और वहाँ पर जाके वो मैनेजर से मिला। वो बोला 35,000 रुपये लूँगा, स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड 35,000 रुपये लूँगा, आपको लेना है ले लो। उस समय 35,000 रुपये बहुत बड़ी बात है। तो महाराज कहा कि गिरिराज स्वामी के परमिशन के सिवा कुछ नहीं होगा, पैसा तो हमारे पर इतना है नहीं, तो हम जाके बंदोबस्त करके हम बता देंगे। फिर महाराज आए, यहाँ पर बात की होगी गिरिराज स्वामी से और पैसा ले गए और वो जगह खरीदा। जब जगह खरीदा तो हम लोग ने एक ऐसी एक देवली था, ऐसा ये छोटा सा घर था, तो वहाँ हम छोटे जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा रखा और वहाँ पर हम लोग पूजा करते थे। तो हम जब भी जाते थे वहाँ पर रुकते थे और वहाँ पर बाजू में बड़े बड़े गन्ना सब खेती है और इतना छोटा सा रोड है। हमारे पास एक मिनी बस था, मुरारी जी चलाते थे और घसी घसी के लेके जाते थे वो कि पूछो मत। एक बार तो ऐसे हुआ कि वहाँ पर जब हम गए तो लोकनाथ स्वामी का कहा कि आप आइए, हमें गाइड कीजिए यहाँ पर कैसे करना चाहिए। अभी मंदिर तो जगह तो ले लिया, लेकिन अभी कौन रहेगा यहाँ पर, हम तो नहीं रह सकते क्योंकि हम लोग तो प्रचार करते थे। तो ये गांव से वो गाँव गाड़ी भर भर के जाते थे हम लोग। तो किताब लेके गोदाम रखने बना दिया, किताब रखने के लिए हम लोग। और उनका कि हम लोग नहीं रह सकते। तो महाराज ने, क्या नाम था उसका, महाराज का पहला भक्त, महाराज के गाँव का पहला भक्त था वो, हाँ। तो वो भक्तों को महाराज ने बुलाया और तुम यार हो रहे, और महाराज रहा उधर रहा भक्त। फिर महाराज ने, मैं एक दिन पूछा महाराज को, महाराज जैसे अभी बात हो रही है उनकी कि महाराज कैसे सारे अमेरिकन भक्त थे, एक ही इंडियन भक्त था, और जो भी इंडियन भक्त थे वो चाहते थे वापस नहीं आते थे। महाराज लिखते हैं उधर। तो मैं महाराज को बोला, तुम्हारा इधर क्या फ़ायदा है, कौन रहेगा यहाँ पर, ये जंगल है यहाँ कोई आदमी नहीं आता है। पंढरपुर तो उधर है, पंढरपुर तो नदी के उस पार है ना, कौन रहेगा इधर। महाराज कहा सब लोग रहेंगे, हम लोग रहेंगे और सब हो जाएगा, ठीक हो जाएगा। अपने मुझे याद है उस समय उन्होंने बोला कि प्रभुपाद को भी ऐसे प्रश्न पूछे थे जब प्रारंभ में प्रभुपाद बावरी में न्यूयॉर्क में जब प्रचार करते थे, तब ससुर महाराज ने प्रश्न पूछा था कि कौन आपकी संस्था को हेल्प करेगा, कौन करेगा हेल्प आपके संस्था को, अब कैसे करोगे ये अकेले कि ये सब करना चाहते हैं, ये करना चाहते हैं, वो करना चाहते हैं। और हम 3 आदमी है, ब्रह्मानंद है, उनके भाई है, और ये मुकुंद है और ससुर महाराज, 3 या 4 आदमी है। तो उन कैसे करोगे आप, महाराज मुझे बता रहे थे, मुझे याद आया। तो उन्होंने कहा कि आप समय देखेगा, समय पे रखो, समय पे आप तुम लोग देखो। तो उस समय महाराज बोले थे पंढरपुर में तुम समय पे देखो। तो आज देखो पंढरपुर में कितना बड़ा जगह हो गया। कितने लोग पंढरपुर गए, वाह गुड, सभी लोग जाइए पंढरपुर, जरूर जाइए। तो आज देखो कितना सुंदर, वो जगह भी नहीं रहा। और मैंने उनको कहा था वो क्या नाम, प्रहलाद को किसका फ़ोटो निकाल के रखो, वो फ़ोटो नहीं निकाल के रखा, वो घर का, वो पहले हमने खरीदा था, वो घर का फ़ोटो नहीं निकाला, ऐसे ही पड़ा है। तो उधर उन लोगों ने बिल्डिंग बना दिया, ब्रह्मचर्य आश्रम बना दिया। तो कहने का तात्पर्य है कि जो लोकनाथ स्वामी की डिटर्मिनेशन है, जैसे घर के अंदर भी, इधर भी, गांव में भी, हम लोग उसके गांव में गए, बहुत दिन गांव में रहे। और उनका अंगूर का खेती उनका है, बढ़िया बढ़िया अंगूर, एकदम फर्स्ट क्लास, मोटे मोटे इतने उंगली इतने अंगूर में देखे हो आप उनके, और खूब अंगूर खाते थे हम लोग। और एक बहुत बड़ा कुआं था, कुआं था, कुआं बहुत बड़ा कुआं था, कुएं में कूदते थे, दिन भर नहाते थे हम लोग। बड़ा कुआं है उनके इसके अंदर, या और बहुत प्रसाद बढ़िया बढ़िया बनाती थी उनकी मम्मी, सब कुछ बढ़िया खाते थे। और हम ड्रामा करते थे। तो महाराज हमारे मुखिया थे। महाराज बोला कि अभी हम कुछ ऐसा प्रचार करना चाहिए जिसके माध्यम से या गांव के लोग भक्त बनना चाहिए। तो एक दिन ड्रामा किया, अब मेरे को जिन्नी बना दिया। जिन्नी ड्रामा कभी सुना है तुम लोगों ने, एक भूत का ड्रामा होता है, तो वो सब बना दिया। और हम लोग मैं क्या कर दिया, सब वो बुर्का पहन के वो औरतों के बीच में जाके बैठ गया। सब औरत लोग बैठती है वहाँ जाके मैं बैठ गया, महाराज सामने बैठे हैं। और ये लोग सब सजे हुए हैं, ये राजा सजा हुआ है, द्रपाल सजा हुआ है, सब लोग सजे हुए हैं। और ड्रामा खूब बढ़िया से हो रहा है, रात एकदम अंधेरा है। और जब वो जिन्नी, जब वो राजा ने वो चिमनी, एक दीप होता है, दीवा होता है, दीवा के अंदर वो जिन्नी होती है। तो वो राजा कहता है, ये बुढ़ी को कहता है, बुढ़ी को दीप मुझे दे दो। तो बुढ़ी बोलती नहीं, मत टच करो इसको, इसके अंदर भूत है। तो राजा था वो, उन्होंने पकड़ लिया, वो जैसे पकड़ा वो भूत प्रकट हो गया। और मैं वो माता जी के बीच में से उठ गया। अरे बाबा क्या बताओ वो सीन, सब माता जी भाग गई खेती के बांध। कई लोगों को सवेरे बताया, इसलिए डोपरे खसट गए। बोले क्या हो गया, बोले कौन था वो क्या, और मैं मंच पे आ गया और इतना आनंद आया, इतना आनंद आया कि पूछो मत। साथ साथ तो उस समय महाराज के रूप से 4 आदमी को भक्त बनाया हम लोगों ने। महाराज की बहन को भक्त बनाया। आज तक महाराज की बहन है उधर। हाँ, महाराज की बहन से मिले आप लोग कोई? महाराज की बहन से मिले ना? तो आज तक महाराज की बहन अभी आश्रम संभालती है, और उसी ने वो आश्रम संभाला। हम लोग भाग गए कई बार। एक बार तो ऐसे हुआ कि चंद्रभागा का पानी पूरा बाहर आ गया, हमारी गाड़ी डूब गई, और हम लोगों ने वो जो घर था जहाँ हमारा अभी जो ब्रह्मचर्य आश्रम बना है, वहाँ पर हम नहाए। 3 दिन खाना नहीं पीना नहीं कुछ नहीं। मुरारी, मैं, भगवान दास और 2-3 नए लड़के, बस वहाँ है। कौन देगा? ऊपर के ऊपर घर में एक माताजी थी, वो भाकरी बना के, मक्के की भाकरी बना के और झुनका बना के ला के देती थी। इतना चिकड़, वो चिकड़ के अंदर से ला के हमको खाना देती थी। 3 दिन के बाद जब सूख गया, तब हम लोगों ने एक किरण बनवा के गाड़ी निकाला, गाड़ी निकाल के चले आए। तो महाराज का रिटर्न में से बहुत बड़ा है। महाराज कहते नहीं, छोड़ने का नहीं, ये जगह में मंदिर बनाएंगे हम लोग, और अभी मंदिर बनेगा। अभी महाराज का प्लान है वहाँ पर 25 करोड़ रुपए का मंदिर बनाने का।
हरी हरी।
पंडरपुर में मंदिर बनेगा, राधा पंडरीनाथ का मंदिर बनेगा, 25 करोड़ का मंदिर उन्होंने मैप भी बना दिया। अभी बनेगा, क्योंकि पहले तो घाट बनाया इसीलिए, और घाट बनाया इसीलिए, नहीं तो पहला मंदिर ही बनता था। लेकिन वो भी एक प्रभुपाद की प्रेरणा है। आज उस घाट को देख के लाखों लोग उसके ये कर रहे हैं, तारीफ कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि अकेले ISKCON ने किया, पूरे महाराष्ट्र के लोग नहीं कर पाते। वहाँ पर पंढरपुर में जाते, आप लोग गए होंगे यात्रा में, तो हज़ारों लोग जाते हैं, टट्टी करने का पिसाब पर कोई जगह नहीं है वहाँ पर। लेकिन आज वो घाट को देख के गवर्नमेंट भी स्पेस्ट कर रही है, और मोदी जी भी वहाँ पर गए और उन्होंने कहा कि हम भी ऐसे बना देंगे यहाँ पर। हाँ, महाराष्ट्र में यहाँ पर ऐसे बना देंगे, ऐसे करके उन्होंने भी ये किया हुआ है। तो बनेगा शायद वहाँ पर। हाँ, ये BJP वाले बनाएंगे सो वहाँ पर। तो कहने का तात्पर्य यह है कि लोकनाथ स्वामी की जो गाथा है बहुत सुंदर गाथा है, और हम लोग उस समय बहुत आनंद किए उनके साथ में, अभी भी है। महाराज हरे कृष्ण, धन्यवाद।
हरे कृष्ण गुरु जी। हिज होलीनेस लोकनाथ स्वामी महाराज की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की, आई विल बिल्ड यू अ टेम्पल द जुहू स्टोरी बुक की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल। धन्यवाद। हरे कृष्ण।